Shalom, Kol Halo Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000, and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like those heathen. This is not a black thing. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you, I say shalom. Today's going to be like a history lesson, and I have to admit my fault for not correcting Yaridan. I was very well aware of that and let something distract me on the live the other day. Yesterday, actually, when he brought out the history about the Crusades and identified them as Edomites. No, the Crusades, Jake was ruling all of Eurasia at that time, all right, or Asia. You know, they fraudulently call Europe today, and Western Asia, the Middle East. That was a battle for Jerusalem, and the apostle had to come on and make that correction. I should have made that correction right then and there. So, Salakia for that on my part. All right, just wanted to get that off my chest. But here we go. In this video, I'm just gonna go into basically Jeremiah. Let me grab it first. Jeremiah 50 and 33. And it reads, "Thus saith the Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." All right, so prophecy dictates that the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom would be oppressed together. And the crazy thing is that for the majority of them, they didn't even know that they were the same people, yet they were oppressed together. All right. Now, the sad thing is a lot of the Judites knew. And I always tell you how the Moors, the Morenos, the Cryptos, the Moriscos, the Huguenots, the secret Jews, who were so-called black men and women, who actually set up America before Esau took it over. When they allowed them own slaves and own native slaves. And what you're looking at is a bunch of natives here in the Americas, by the way. All right. Depictions of them when they first came. And they were very dark brown. All right. They were just as dark as some Negroes because they are so-called Negroes. They just were from different tribes. All right. And because there was something that happened in 1682. Let's find that real quick. I know that's in this scheme of things here. I may have to go back. Well, how about just click this one then? There it is. Okay, Virginia passed 2 acts in 1682 that combined Native Americans and Africans into one category, Negroes and other slaves. A written record of the voyage of 1524 by Giovanni de Verrazio recorded a letter to Francis the First, the King of France, in July 8th, 1524. Please note the description of the natives. They are dark in color, not unlike the Ethiopian, with thick black hair, not very long, tied behind their head in a small tail. They have short ponytails. All right. As for the physique of these men, they are well proportioned, of medium height, a little taller than we are. They have broad chests, strong arms and legs and other parts. Their bodies are well composed. And then they were called savages and niggers and everything else later on. But yet, this is what he found when he came to the Americas, these dark-fleshed people. So what you're looking at on the left are the American Negroes, the Indians, the so-called Indians. And then you're looking at the refugee Israelites from Israel that were in Africa, on the west coast of Africa. They always leave that detail out, all right? And who came here, okay? Who came here in slave ships. Some of the majority of them, all right? But you have to think, you have to understand that when at the fall of Portugal and Spain in 1492, when the Moors and the Morenos were dispersed, right? Some of them did go into slavery, but many of them scattered into Europe, or into Western Asia further. All right, they scattered away further east into Eastern Asia, to midway through Asia, Central Asia. The whole India thing, and then of course many of them came to the Americas. And a lot of them that left, those same Moors and Morenos, when they came to the Americas, for the most part, they referred to themselves as Huguenots. All right, your secret Jews, your Moriscos, your Sephardic Israelites, all right, they were referring to themselves as Moors, Morenos, and Moriscos. All right. As a matter of fact, now I have to correct myself. They were not, many of them weren't referring to themselves as Moor. Moor is a German word for black. That was dark skin. That's what the so-called white man started calling them. All right. So these are factual things that happened. Okay. So let's just dive a little bit more into these records, because they were enslaved together. That Jeremiah 50 and 33. Okay, so I'm just going through some of the imagery. Okay, let's pull this. The language and the race of the evolution of red people. I guess these are books by Jack Forbes. All right, New Amsterdam and let's read this one. New Amsterdam or New York in America, 1700 natives in the background. Look at them. This is imagery from the time period. In the foreground of the Dutch settlement of the New Amsterdam, beyond and many ships in the harbor, colored engraver Peter Mortier. All right, this French guy wrote this one. But look at the artistry of what they put in the book. All right. So the fleshly difference between the natives in America and the natives that came over here on ship was very similar. They were all what you call copper, that copper brown, that copper red, that maroon, which is that brownish red. All right, brownish red. Okay. This is what the relics are showing you and telling you that they ignore in the school systems today. And this history, none of this history is brought up. Let's read this one. 100 amazing facts about blacks, the black Indian of the Western Hemisphere, ancient and modern Britons. Let's see if I can get that bigger. I know I saw a bigger one of that. Whatever, less. Guess you just have to see if we can make it larger. Nope, that kind of switched it up. These are images of natives in America, not in Africa. Okay? With all the feathers and things of that nature. But let's go back. And let me read that. It says 100, I guess this is a book. All right. 100 amazing facts about the black Indian in the Western Hemisphere, Ancient and Modern Britons by David McRitchie, page 374. And guess what? I have the book right here. Let me show it on the screen. Okay. Ancient and Modern Britons. All right. So we're going to read from this by David McRitchie. All right. And this is page 374. And these are some of the highlighted parts. And anyone can go and find this book to cross-check, what what I'm showing you. Although I'm going to put some of this in the screen. Okay, as a matter of fact, let me readjust the camera outward. Okay, so that I can put the book in front of the camera so I can share what I'm reading. All right. Page 374. Okay. And it says, and I'm just going to read the highlighted parts. All right. So consequently, those moon men, all right, and you look down, the underline, were distinctly gypsies. Gross tells us that moon man is a synonym for gypsy. So they called gypsies moon men. Okay, gypsies and beggars were formerly one and the same people. A gang of falls or moon men about the year 1620, except for the allusion of the practice that rendered them not wrongly named painted people. All right, let's go down. It says, they pretend that they derive their origin from the ancient Egyptians, who were famous for their knowledge in astronomy and other sciences, and under the pretense of fortune telling, find means to rob or defraud the ignorant and superstitious. So the Israelites did come to be among the Hamitic, dark-fleshed Egyptians. So that's true. All right. Their sons were making babies with them. They were mixed and mingled. All right. But remember, your lineage is through your sperm line, not your mother's womb. In this paragraph here, still this does show that these people to us in a stronger light that they were and are placed by the 19th century writers. This tells us that England was overrun last century by large companies of marauders who sojourned upon the agricultural caste of England, much as they did in Ireland and Scotland, to the great terror of the agriculturalists. And these oppressors were black oppressors. They weren't oppressors, they took over. When we tell you that Negroes controlled all of Eurasia, the portion of Europe the portion of Asia they call Europe, they did from the time of the fall of Rome all the way up until 1492, when Portugal and Spain fell and became controlled by so-called white men. As being black as gypsies in 1676, the native races of New England were spoken indifferently as Indians. We just showed you Amsterdam, New Hampshire, New England, all right, here in the Americas, all right? It says that they were indifferently as Indians and Moors. We just showed you an act that was put in place in 1682 that labeled, Negroes, that labeled both black Africans, so-called slaves, and Native Americans as Negroes, as one and the same, as one people, because they were proven that they were oppressed together. That was another thing that happened in 1681 in Virginia, was when Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, proclaimed himself white and made whiteness a race, made color a race, right? Which it is not. Okay. 375. And Moors and our British Indians are remembered as Moors. Therefore, Gross is virtually telling that large companies of Moors or black people roamed up and down the country rather than 100 years ago, taking very considerable contributions from the farming classes and others, besides being possessed of many fierce and aggressive qualities. And these Moors at that quite recent period had not relinquished the custom that distinguished those black people against whom Caesar fought. See, we told you when you watch that movie Gladiator, all right, the apostle was talking about that movie Gladiator. Negroes were the reason that Rome fell. They took down the white rulership. And why do you think they came so violently and viciously against us when they came to slavery? And this time they erased our history. All right. This was a coming against the natives, even though the natives had no dealings with with the, during the whole time of the Northern Kingdom, that when I say natives, during the whole time of the Grecian and Roman captivity and rulership, they were here in the Americas already. All right. They were still Israelites. And Esau still looks at them as the enemy. All right. Same people, different tribes. Okay. It says, and then they separated us by with all these false labels and titles. All right. Because they didn't want us to, to gather together. That was, they were trying to keep us from going anywhere near to fulfill prophecy. Definitely didn't want Ephraim anywhere around Judah. But it says, the distinguished war paint. Well, I got to go back where they fought Caesar. There we go. Against whom Caesar fought, those 18th century Moors were also painted people. Distinguishing war paint of the 18th century Moors of Galloway was we have seen of red, blood red color derives from the hematite or ruddle that is found throughout Western Europe. And see, in this Western Asia, all right, it is also certain that such killed clans were found in other parts of the British Islands hundreds of years and far back. But as far as there is no direct evidence of this, which is a lie, before I continue, let me put that down because we're going to go straight to the Negro question. And we'll come back to this. That being this book. And let me grab a scripture. All right. Let me grab a scripture. That's this book right here, The Negro Question. Okay. So, volume 4. There's too much evidence in this book that cannot be refuted. All right, from universities that people still go to today, Oxford, Cambridge, all this, so that means that they are very well aware of this. Apostle Gabar often says, who in order to tell a lie, you have to have known the truth. You're trying to hide the truth. Roughly paraphrased. But I was looking for Psalms 85 and 11. And it reads, truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. So before I finish reading this last paragraph in the Black Britons, or the ancient and modern Britons, about the Black Britons, all right. Notice it's ancient and modern Britons. The modern ones are not the people that were there during the time of when the Vikings, in the time of Alfred, the time of Utrecht, that so-called white men were not in rulership. They weren't. Right? All those, just like with the Crusades, those were so-called black people. So all those television shows with the Vikings and the Last Kingdom and Ucha the Bebin Burr and all those Viking shows that they love so much, that's all aesthetically incorrect and all fraud. All right, when it comes to the people, the people were not so-called white at all. That is a lie. So this is the Negro question. I'm just going to read about Professor Boyd Dawkins, all right, who you can look up. It says, an academy of absolutism of these United States, now a new science has emerged and has produced results that are in direct conflict with the history that is being taught in classrooms. That science is genetics. So genetics is a lot of that genetics is based in fraud, pseudoscience. Okay, because they use a lot of lies to set it up. Because if they actually used it righteously and truthfully, it would disprove them. But let's go to Timothy. Timothy warned us they would try to dispute truth, once again labeling people by color and different classifications that fit their pseudoscience. O Timothy, keeps that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. All right. All right. So it says, but what is the issue? This pebble in the shoe is pitting genetics against history. The world history that is being taught in the classrooms omit the existence of black Scots, black Irish, black Brits, black Italians, black French, and black Europeans. And then you even have that letter from 1751 that was written by Benjamin Franklin, where he described the same thing and how he didn't want them here in America, and how he had to make America black and Slovakia, and make America pale and keep all those swarthy people, tawny people, all right, out. Swarthy and tawny are talking about people of color. You remember, and I always tell you, they hijacked swarthy and replaced it with black, right? Just like in most places, they hijack Israelite and replace it with Jew, okay? Because you can, those two words, depending on how you're looking at them, can misguide you from absolution, from truth, okay? But it says, where was I at? Or black Europeans that were sold directly into American slave plantations. Yeah, they leave that history out. It's because they'll tell you that they all came from Africa, and the ones from Africa didn't come from Africa. They came from Jerusalem. They came from the land of Israel originally. All right. They fled into Africa. They leave these very important details out of history. It says the history that's being taught in the classroom is a direct conflict with the eyewitness and the artifacts. All right. Going back to that Psalms 85 and 11, which I was going for. And it reads, the truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. The artifacts were left and still being found, disproving the lies that Esau Edom tells. My beloved brother Shathia just gave me a website. He tracks down every time he goes to Europe all the black Madonnas and the swarthy images of the Lord and the disciples that are still in Europe to this very day. And because on the website, it shows you where they are on the earth, and the majority place where they are is in Europe, right where which genetics have told you so-called white people came from. So why would the most dark relics be found in the places where so-called white people came from? They didn't come from there. All right. Wow. The Viking heart. Okay. I'm just looking at that book. I have to look into that. It says, this great omission has caused the public to view both institutions in a fraudulent and suspect manner. What is the solution to the problem? What is the missing link? The Negro question part 4, the missing link, has the answer to make both science come together in perfect in history, basically, in a perfect harmonious marriage. Neither of the two scientists possess or link to bring the cohesiveness to their respective fields. The secret lies in the past in the writings of Professor Boyd Dawkins, in the edict of Oliver Cromwell, and I talk about Cromwell all the time. Cromwell and his brother, they were removing so-called black people from Scotland and Ireland. They were charged to do that in the 1600s after the Jacobite Wars. All right? And I have about 3 books on written about the Jacobites. All right? And a lot of them were sent to the islands. That's what to serve slavery. All right? Montserrat, to the Virgin Islands, to Jamaica, to Trinidad, all those places. All right. It says, in ancient artifacts and in the essay of Benjamin Franklin, their scholars, scientists, historians are confused. The institutions have failed them. Their money failed them. They have been deceived by the Renaissance, and the blindness has taken hold of them, and the shining of the light hurts their eyes, and they find shelter in the darkness in their lies. Isaiah 8 and 20. That comes to mind. There's no light in them, all right, because there's no truth in them. No understanding of the scriptures, And they're just liars. Like it says in John, they're Esau is the damn beginning of lie, the first lie in the beginning of it. All right, this is roughly paraphrased. Isaiah 8:20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, is because there's no light in them. So these so-called white men are liars who made up falsified science and genetics and covered up history to try and make themselves fit something that they're not. And in this book, on pages 4 and 5, I'm just going to read the titles of these books and the information that's contained in them. As a matter of fact, I'll put them on the screen, as I have before, so that, you can read them for yourself, screenshot them. All right? Let's see if we can. Let me turn the light on, Salakia. Page 4. Professor Winchell Alexander, Our Remote Ancestry, 1815 to 1900, a collection of journals. These short black men came from Atlantis, North Africa, and they overran Europe, and they were known as Britons. All right. Now that whole Atlantis thing, but they did control Britain. All right. Remember, we keep telling you that Rome fell at the hand of the Israelites that were all in their military and all inside their government, in their Senate and things of that nature, just like it showed you in Gladiator 2. All right, and most of your soldiers were Jake, just like it is today. All right, Roman historian Tacitus, the origins of Black Britons. The Iberians are black people with curly hair. Anthropological Review, Social Society, London, Volume 8. So you can't unwrite these records, all right, that were used, but they covered up and purposely don't teach this stuff. And then they created pseudoscience, this whole black-white thing, this whole Negroid, Caucasoid, Mongoloid, which is all a pseudoscience, a false pseudoscience that they put together, knowing that someone could have a Negro father and a white woman and still and look like their white mother and still be a Negro, and vice versa. All right, and vice versa. Someone could be as chocolate as a chocolate bar and still be a so-called white man. They don't teach that that your identity is through your seed line. They came with this false thing of color and have confused the whole world. All right, Ivan van Sertima, African presence in early Europe, page 225. Britons look like Ethiopians. So he's just highlighting the records. All right, Albert Churchill, 1912. Origins of Evolution, pages 12 and 13. The Black Basque, meaning bodies, were exterminated from Europe. He just, and this guy said that there was no evidence of it. The guy that McRitchie was quoting, but then he went on to tell you otherwise. Professor Boyd Dawkins, Our Earliest Ancestors, Bygone Days, lecture delivered in the public hall of Collyhurst, Manchester, January 8th, 1879. The Ancient Britons, Irish Scots are short black people, pages 103 to 107. All right, and I could keep reading. You could screenshot some of these for yourself for your own records. But like I said, in 1681, whiteness was created in Virginia. A year later, they labeled the so-called African slave and the so-called Native American Negroes and said that they were the same people, because they were. They know that they were both the northern and southern kingdom of Israel. And they've tried to cover all this truth, all this evidence up. All right? Let me just get ready to close with this one. Actually, let me finish. I still had a paragraph to read in Ancient Britons. So let me go back to 374 or 375. And it says, when he read, because I went into at the Negro question when he said there's no evidence of this, and I showed you the evidence. The word kill it was noticed it is only modernized phonetic spelling of the word that is Gaelic. Oh boy, that got something to do with the Irish, that Gaelic language. God damn it, didn't mean to touch the screen. Hold on. Yeah. Let me go back to where I was. Let me pull out. Okay, here we go. Yeah, the word kill. What was that? The word kill is noticed is only a modernized phonetic spelling of the word that is in Gaelic spelled kill and gill. And this word, whether we pronounce it unwarrantably gilly, or as Sir Walter Scott, I actually went to Walter Scott school. They tore that school down. All right, Mount Carmel built over that land. But it says, and his schoolboy companions used correctly to pronounce it Keely. The pronunciation by no means obsolete in Scotland at the present day, and is either of these cases the word denotes one of humble class. The history of such a meaning, such a meaning, it has been assumed is this: the certain ruddled tribes of Keelys were overcome by the certain non-painted races and sank to the inferior position of a conquered people. The curses of Deuteronomy 28. Exactly. So because they were calling the Negroes and all the dark people painted people, and the pale people took them over. And he just told you, and he just basically admitted that. All right. And those are the curses of Deuteronomy 28. Eventually the curse of slavery. All right. But let me just read this second Esdras and wrap it up. Second Esdras 6:27, and it reads, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which have been so long without fruit shall be declared. Call halal Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai Ba'ashem Rakah Kwadash Kwam Yasharala Abad Babal."